that ought to be an indication of things to come. So, we are back to some Monster Hunter World. Arch-Tempered Nergigante dropped last week, and so figured out this would be a good time to get some. So, we got the earplugs, a little more of a defensive boost, still the stun, health, and tool specialist all maxed out. This time we went with a little bit of evade extender as well. I was a lot less focused on offense and damage, and much more so on survivability, because ye gods, this guy is tough. But I've got to say, this was probably one of my best plays ever. I feel like I was moving exactly the way I needed to. Everything was just on par. Especially, I really don't think I've played since the Ancient Lesson event. And after going through all the Dark Souls games and just the combat being ever so slightly similar, but the controls just being the tiniest bit off, took me a minute to find that muscle memory again. And I thought he was right under it. Really needed that. But again, still feel good about the way everything played. This, and even the music, I was kind of thinking about the music while Chris and I were playing, and just kind of almost like a video games live sort of thing, like those symphony performances. Like, oh, just imagine hearing this in that kind of setting. But then at the same time, it's like, well, I would be going out of my mind with intensity. I mean, I would be even in an orchestrated symphonic setting like that. Oh man, this music is a fight song. And this genuinely feels like the final boss of the game. Xeno'jiiva is fun. I enjoyed it as a monster and as a fight and everything, but in no way. Arch-Tempered Xeno felt a little like a final boss, but man, Nergi feels like a final boss. And his stupid dive bomb. Hopefully my audio doesn't sound significantly terrible. I had to bust out some old earbuds. My headphones broke literally as soon as I sat down to play this yesterday. Went to put my headphones on and it just snapped. As did I. So hopefully this quality isn't too bad. But obviously this is post commentary as well, because I did not have these on whilst playing. And in some ways I kind of liked it better. I felt like it let me play a little more effectively, not having to feel like I should be talking. But I also think some of the I still want to do that for more reactionary stuff. Although I'm looking at some of the stuff that's on here. I wonder if I could put a video. I wonder if I recorded a video like on the PlayStation camera. I'm just kind of looking at the screen and thinking out loud, but might be something to play with in the future. But on top of that, good lord, Iceborne is gonna be amazeballs. I mean, I knew I was gonna be excited for it. There was never any doubt in my mind. So like, we get to see two variants of just how much Nergigante does not give a shit. He snatched Kushala Daora out of the air, slammed him, choke slammed him down, and straight up One Punch Man style just raked him across the floor and threw him across. All while the Gadjalaka are bombarding him with the missiles and the bombs. He does not care. He is Nergigante. Oh man, I am too tired. But just, you know, thinking about how much we as players struggled with, you know, Arch-Tempered Kushala, and then just watching the current monster that we're fighting absolutely manhandle it. It definitely, I mean, it builds. And I mean, that's probably one of the most violent things I've seen in the game. Just how violently he grabs him. And, I mean, it's fitting. It is, I am really glad they took as long with it as they did with, Arch-Tempered Nerg, because like I said, I mean, it feels, this was a long and late update coming, but man, they did it so well. Nothing ever felt cheap. I mean, some of the deaths are obviously frustrating, but none of it ever felt exploitative or just, you know, hard for hardness sake, or, you know, whatever the case may be. Some of my complaints with, like, Zor Magdaros and Xeno'jiiva, where a lot of the difficulty just comes from how little time you have. And, you know, even in this fight, and the Witcher event, where I think they gave you a full 60 minutes to kind of do some of the stuff, but still, there was a lot of content to have in that, and for the restricting factor to be how much you have to rush through, it's just a bummer. And I don't remember if I said, but I mean, we're taking this right up to the time limit. You know, we've got less than 10 minutes to go once we're in that final room. But the time wasn't the factor. His attitude was the factor. He's gonna be up what, maybe another 8 or 9 days, and so I'm gonna try to play a little bit more and see if I can get some. I need to do some augments, and I really would have liked to have come into this fight with a Kulv Taroth weapon for the defense bonuses on those weapons. I didn't have any augments to get that health regen, and I was using the Witcher sword, but I don't know how well the dragon element was working for me. The blast did okay. I got it to prop a couple times. And this is something I need to hold off on as well. Flashed him a couple times just so I could kind of keep doing some damage. But also kind of wanted to feel it out and see how many times you can stun him. I believe it's 3. I believe you can get 3 shots off on him. And I don't mind fighting him in here. It's a lot easier for me to keep track of him where things are kind of more flat. And so I kind of tried to keep him here a little bit. So that was my, I think that was my, yeah, that was my second flash, second stun. Because this, I despise fighting him in this room. There is still just such an ingrained, like, stay out of the lava kind of video game. You know, your brain is telling you to stay away from the hazards, even though in this game they're really not actual hazards. And then this, the slope right there is really good for getting mounts and all of that stuff, but it is not very good for doing your Superman dive. Because once you start sliding, you got no dive. And found that out the hard way. So I hate fighting them in here. I hate fighting pretty much anything in this room. Lava Seath is the one exception, just because it generally doesn't stray too far from the lava area. And it works well, so you can kind of keep doing more consistent damage on him. But fighting this guy in here? No, thank you. The one thing I might try to do on my next run is to put a, what is it, like an airborne? I think that skill gives you an increased chance to mount, but I might just be thinking of the mantle. the one thing I've really noticed about this fight, and kind of in Nergigante in general, but they put it up to the nth in this fight, is you just have to be much more reactionary with the way that you fight him. You can't really plan out what you're gonna try to do. You gotta kind of wait to see what he does, and then this feels much more like a boxing match than any other fight thus far in the game, where you gotta kind of dance with him a little more than try to fight him, because if you try to fight him, he will just outmaneuver you every step of the way. So much faster, hits so much harder. Craziness. This is probably my best area to fight him. There was my third stun, I think. Like I said, I like fighting him on the flatter areas much more. I need to be better about trying to get some of the mounting damage on him, but with the evade extender, it kind of makes that jumping attack a little bit harder to measure. But the added dodge distance is so invaluable with how he starts to move when he just gets frantic. Oh, love cutting that tail off. And he makes you work for it. Man, does he make you work for cutting that tail off. And there's the other reason I like fighting him in here is you can hopefully get a few hundred damage, maybe even a couple thousand if you can keep him in the flames long enough. And my god, not enough damage can be done to this guy. And even after, you know, the Leshen quest being restricted by time, and even the Ancient Leshen being such a catastrophic kind of fight, where I think I said, even in one of my videos, where it's just like this, the nature of this kind of fight doesn't work in these game mechanics. Obviously it can be done, but those fights were not fun. They were impressive, they were noteworthy, and you got some good stuff for doing it, but I will not say I had fun during those events. But this, even for how astonishingly difficult it is, super fun. So much fun fighting Arch-Tempered Nerg. Get that tail. Not gonna lie, I was hoping for something a little more illustrious. But you takes what you can get. in the AT world. And then we got Master Rank coming up in Iceborne. It's going to take a lot of effort not to call it World Ultimate. I do have one lightning weapon that I might try on him, but it has no white sharpness. That was the main reason I went with this particular sword and shield. It has it's got a good amount of white sharpness. The blast attack is nice, but the other thing I need to remember to do, I don't remember, I think I've got my, oh man, and as soon as I saw that red drop, oh daddy, oh, OMG, OMG I say, OMGIS. Let him get a little bit close enough, but if you can kind of draw him closer to a wall, because that's the nice thing about when he does that dive bomb, is he has a couple seconds during his recovery animation where you can be doing some damage to him. And so if you can kind of position yourself where you're dive bombing close to a wall, so that when you get up out of your animation, he's getting up out of his, and then you can get a couple pretty clean hits off on him. But yeah, he just got frantic there. He's tough, man. And there's a balance to strike between letting your mantles charge back up and the risk of running out of time. Usually my vitality mantle, I can get 2, maybe 3 hits out of it. Depending if it's a little hip check or something like that. But basically just having something on to keep me safe while the temporal mantle charges back up. Because, man, that temporal mantle is a must-have for some parts of this fight, like this part. And the same even with that evade extender on. If I can kind of control it a little bit so that I jump back against a wall, and I don't get that massive distance between us. Man, that music. Ooh. Like, I feel like I could run the full marathon in Yeah, so no more stuns. Like, I could start this song and run a marathon by the time the song ended. It's not overpowering, it's not in your face, but it is just, it's not frantic. It's so intense. Man, yeah, that quick slam he does, that is so hard to see coming. I've seen a couple videos. Well, I haven't watched them because I have no desire to watch these cheesing speed runs. The whole cluster bomb method, I don't see how anybody finds that fun. Like, why would you spend so much time trying to find the quickest way to defeat the monsters rather than the most fun way? And maybe people do actually find that fun, but I will never understand it. If you have to exploit a gimmick, like the cluster bombing method that you see so many speedrunners use, except in Japan. I don't think I ever see any Japanese players do it. At least on a couple of the speedruns I've seen. Mostly that Game Economist channel. I'm a little bit done with his channel and Dark Hero. Anybody that monetizes their content and spends more time bitching about it than just doing it, and you make money for just making videos about what you don't like and your complaints, it's just agitating. It's frustrating to essentially listen to these guys just not get it. Oh man, this was when I saw that skull. I couldn't believe it. Oh, and I was hoping maybe that stun counter would reset. Anything that would let me stun him. I mean, aside from, like I said at the beginning, aside from a couple little missed opportunities, I couldn't be happier with how I played this fight. I'm not going to sit here and say I read him like a book, but just the way I was able to move around the way he moves, man, just felt spot on. And again, especially not having played really since the Ancient Lesson. And like, really, that right there, that's how you want to do it. You want your mount to finish out your mantle. You don't want to start your mantle. The only problem is I should have taken it off. I should have taken it off immediately and let that cooldown timer start. And that's, I I wouldn't I wouldn't go as far as to say it's like a complaint. Um, but that's one thing. One thing I wish I could get a better grasp on is when the mantle automatically comes off and when you have to take it off. Because sometimes once the timer is up, your character will pull it off, and then sometimes not. And so that's just something I probably need to understand. This was another bit of a missed opportunity. I realized that I did not have any slinger ammo. And, you know, obviously starting to run low on time. And so I think I clip him a little bit. Yeah. So I missed a potential good bit of damage with that wake up bomb. So that kind of sucks, but again, just a few little mental notes. I wasn't sure if he was going to do his dive bomb from there. Man, that move, that might be more dangerous than his dive bomb at this point. It's so fast and hits so freaking hard. Take that. I barely even remember what happens in here. I remember frantic. That area, that particular area is, I mean, perfectly difficult. Just that one ledge in there. Man, that completely, and I got lucky here. I had no idea he was going to be asleep. But yet again, I didn't have any slinger ammo, so I probably ended up doing the same thing. So I thought I might be able to hit it with a flash pod, but usually I would just hit it with dung, but I took that out of my bag. So yeah, that's, oh man, yeah, I tried to put my temporal mantle on and those freaking things. Oh, yeah, this is just, I knew, I mean, if it didn't already pop up, at some point you get that message, 10 minutes left. But really, in my mind, I'm thinking, I have the temporal mantle times left. Because if that temporal mantle, temporal mantle drops, and he's not dead yet, he wins. And I mean, this is a bad place to fight him because every time those shards drop down, you know, I can't be attacking. So this was a bad place to kind of get stuck in a boxing match with him. But again, this was where it's just like, all right, this is go for broke, swinging for the fences. And just as my mantle dropped. Oh my gosh. I wish I could see how close, like how many more frames there were before my health bar filled back up when he hit me. Oh my god, that was so close. That was so close. But that's exactly what it needed to be. I mean, this is Arch Temper Nergigante. Like that was not cheap. That didn't exploit any game mechanics. That didn't manipulate any game mechanics. That was a hard fight that kicked my butt. And what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I think at this point I was just like waiting for my hands to stop shaking and everything else to just kind of calm down. Um, Good Lord, Envy is just wanting to get on my lap so bad. Um, it was super fun. It's a super fun fight. It is challenging in all the right ways, and all the ways you want a Monster Hunter to be challenging. Um, I just hope this microphone picked everything up for me. Yes, it was about 40 minutes that I don't need to sit through again. Um, yeah, I might try to pick up a camera and just do some recording and then see if maybe I can upload it on here. That way I'd at least have a reason to still do some live recording rather than post. But that'll do it for Arch Tempered Nerg. Maybe I'll post another one when I actually win, but we will see.